Jeremy Weiss here live at RetailX. I'm here with Liam from Exclusive Concepts. Liam, tell people what you guys do.
Great, thanks Jeremy for having me. So Exclusive Concepts is one of the original digital marketing agencies in the country. We started in 1997. That actually predates Google itself. So we've been around for a long time, and our mission has always been to be the best e-commerce marketing strategist out there. And it started with organic search back in 97. Today we've developed a full holistic suite of services, just really focused on attracting the right traffic from organic to paid, getting people to convert at the highest possible rate. In fact, 12 years ago, we were one of the original agencies to start a conversion testing service. So looking at user experience, on-site metrics and behavior, and then optimizing lifetime value. So channels like social, email marketing, everything that we can do. So 8 specialty services. We've developed a lot of technology to back it up. We've also partnered with some outside technologies where we see the gaps and need to fill them in. So, it's really trying to be that true strategic partner and focus on every single channel that can influence a business online.
So who's an ideal client for you?
We really, a lot of our companies that we work with are, either solely focused on direct-to-consumer or B2B. A lot of them are that more hybrid split model. But we look to really work with people, ranging from a few $1,000s in ad spend a month to hundreds of thousands of dollars in ad spend a month. It really doesn't matter for us. We want to help small and big businesses alike. But really for us, we want to work with the business that we believe in. We're not willing to take on just anyone. We're pretty selective with who we want to work with. So it's finding the right fit. Do you have a right site? Are we confident that we can drive traffic there and have it act as your best online salesman? Is it going to convert? These are all things that we really take into account. We have a pretty robust process around identifying these things, connecting with people, but trying to come up with just a custom plan and give them our concerns, voice those if they're valid and necessary. But finding a site that we think is strong on a good platform, has a good product meant to convert, and they have the budget to really get aggressive with spend, but only when it makes sense.
So walk me through interesting client case study.
Yeah, definitely. So, we work with a number of different clients across many different industries. I would say an interesting one is Hewlett-Packard. They were struggling, their Canadian branch of the company was struggling to produce positive results on Google advertising. And they came to us specifically saying that we want to have you start here and help us on this component of our business.
Show them what you could do.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And within a couple months, we were able to really exponentially increase the return on ad spend and do it at an efficient rate while scaling revenue. So we were meeting goals. We were able to widen the scope of the relationship. Hewlett-Packard is one, but there's been a number of other companies that have come to us with challenges, and we're always willing to accept those.
So someone like that, maybe it's Hewlett-Packard, maybe someone else. So they use you for Google. What else? And then they're like, oh, you can do this? Yeah. What else can you do? So what else do you do for them?
Yeah, so that's an attractive thing about Exclusive is that we do sometimes bring people on for all the services at once, but a lot of times they'll give us the keys in a certain length and give us the ride there, and we got to get to that point before we move on to other services. So it's Google advertising, paid search, Google shopping, organic search. We have a full content team that also focuses not just on on-site content, all content marketing efforts. We apply that then to Amazon content. So we have Amazon content, we can upload products, and we do Amazon advertising. As I mentioned, we were the first agency, one of the first agencies to do conversion testing, along with email marketing, social marketing, a number of different technologies, Jeremy, that I think are really intriguing. One of them being competitive pricing intelligence that we have identified as being an area that a lot of other agencies, it's low-hanging fruit, but you'd be surprised a lot of agencies, I feel, aren't focusing on how much price plays a factor in a consumer behavior, especially as they're looking at a SERP and what product are they going to select. A lot of times, if it's the same product, a lot of resellers out there, it's going to come down to price. We know there's map restrictions, but we're doing everything that we can, trying to pull as many different levers on the technology side to help influence our custom execution of the strategy on the e-commerce side.
Yeah, and you guys have been around for a couple decades, correct. And so I know you have a lot of interesting clients. So Hewlett-Packard, what's another interesting one that maybe came in for something else besides Google advertising?
Yeah, so we work with Eastwood, which is a large company on the automotive side, and they came to us more so on the organic search side. So that's where we got our start back in '97, as I had mentioned. And we've done a lot of great things. Both we don't just focus on the content side, it's full technical deliverables as well. So we want to really be that extension of your team that can handle it from start to finish, from making sure that you have that technical foundation in place to ensure the right user experience and that you're sending those right signals to Google. We were able to clean that up for them along with a lot of high quality content because they say content is king, but the quality is queen. And that's what really rules the house here. That's not my quote. I had taken that from somebody else, but it's a good quote. I forget exactly who said it. But we believe that, and we preach that. Anybody can create content on the SEO side. It has to be quality, especially if you're trying to acquire backlinks. Nobody's going to link to it unless you're creating that quality content. So, everything that we do, I know they sometimes say the jack of all trades is the ace of none. We don't believe that. We feel that we've taken the time to develop the best service in everything that we do.
What would you say the most popular service that people come to you for now?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's a couple. I would say, most of our clients, if there was a number attached to it, are working with us on the Google advertising or the organic search. Those are two of our biggest services, but we've seen huge increases in Amazon and social. Even with conversion and email, we've seen a lot of increases over the years. But Google is something we really hang our hat on. We manage a lot of ad spend. We can compare it to really anybody in this room here today in terms of how much ad spend we manage and how we deliver on that ad spend. I think a lot of people are coming to us and trusting us to spend large sums of advertising dollars because we know how to allocate it in the right way. And I'm sure we'll get to this, but I think a lot of that comes down to how we approach it. There's so much automation in the space today, and I think we've had to embrace that over the years.
Do you create your own automation in-house solutions, or do you use other solutions to help manage it? Because you're manning the ship for some of these companies.
Correct. Yeah, we take a much more hands-on approach. So we decided to, back about 5-6 years ago, Kensho and Marin were really big tools that started this kick of automation. And I think ever since, there's really been a race to see who can create the best automation. Because from a business model perspective, it makes sense. If you can automate the process, you have really good margins on every client you take on. And you can just continue to take people on and grow.
More accurate sometimes.
It can be more accurate, and that's why we've had to embrace it. Campaigns like Target ROAS, we've seen great results with, but on the Google Shopping side, a lot of people are now turning to smart shopping, which can be very dangerous. And there are dangers to automation, especially if you're not working with the right data sets. So different conversion tracking methods. Are calls influencing your business, but that's not being taken into account. So we've had to embrace automation. I've said that a few times because it's true. But again, we are looking at the account on a daily basis. We want to optimize, track trends, and there are changes that you should be making, whether it's at the negative keyword level or doing different things with search query funneling is a big method that we use in our campaigns. That's always going to have a play here in e-commerce. It takes a lot longer for an automation to react to certain trends that are not easily identifiable, whereas a real experienced e-commerce marketing specialist, which we are filled with at our company at Exclusive, we trust them to identify the right areas and work on those in tandem with that automation. So it's a perfect balance there.
Liam, it's interesting because you see a lot of different businesses and you see them when they first come in. What are some of the big mistakes you see? Because you may have to have some tough conversations with them of you're not doing this exactly the way you should, and talk about some of the big mistakes you see that you kind of have to clean up when you take on an account.
Definitely. So I think that it starts with, and this is kind of the most obvious one, but some people, it's unfortunate they don't have the right conversion tracking methods in their campaigns. Either they're not tracking at all, or we see that they're double counting. And talk about throwing off an automation. If you're double counting conversions, it's going to attribute far too much credit to certain areas that shouldn't be getting that amount of credit. So that's kind of step one.
They're not even tracking.
They're not tracking, or they're tracking improperly.
So they hand it to you and they say, I don't even know what's going on, just take it, that kind of thing.
Sometimes they don't know, and then we have to be the bearer of bad news. But that's kind of the first step. But there's more granular insights that we drill into. So a lot of people today, whether it is on Amazon or on Google, are putting all of their products into the same campaign, and it just kind of blanket bids assigned to each product within those campaigns. With the new automations like Target ROAS, it's going to set a max CPC, and that's one of the controls that you're giving to Google, is that you're giving up on having that control on the max CPC. But when you're not treating products differently based on performance, margin, seasonality, different demographic information that aligns well with that product, you're not getting the most out of your management and your program. So it's really breaking out products into different ad groups, different ad sets, different campaigns, trying to associate different negative keywords with those, really get into what's working and what isn't, almost moving it around like it's a stock portfolio. You want to invest more on the areas that are working for you, and that's pretty straightforward, but there's a lot of time that goes into that process of trying to actually be able to identify how you want to move those things around. And sometimes there are challenges that we're not hitting efficiency goals, but we have to track those products, and we can't have that in the same campaign as others. So that's a big thing that we've noticed within campaign structures that we want to identify right away out the gate. There's a lot of other things that we can look at, but those are two big ones that we look at right away.
You mentioned challenges. What are some big challenges in the landscape now with, it could be Google Shopping or Amazon or just e-commerce online?
Yeah, so I think from our standpoint, there's still a lot of hesitancy around some of these channels, specifically that of shopping. I know agencies nowadays don't even want to venture into shopping because it's complicated. And then there's a lot of companies that don't want to actually have their ads serving on Google Shopping. Just because, there's a lot of competition, and it's very hard to manage. If you don't have the right idea of how to assign, because for Google Shopping, you're bidding on products. You're not bidding on keywords, and a lot of times, if you look at a search term report, unless you know how to control Google and how they go through those campaigns, you're going to have a lot of irrelevant, ambiguous traffic coming through those products. So
I joke around and say, if you don't know what you're doing, take $20, put it in the toilet, and flush it, because that's where it's going. If you don't know what you're doing,
it's true. It's true. It's never a situation where we want to throw things at the wall and see what sticks, right? We want to be really calculating how we're going to manage that. But that's kind of one of the challenges that we've seen. But also, there are rising cost per clicks in some of these spaces. It's getting more competitive. People are out there with kind of endless pockets willing to bid and just be ubiquitous for certain search terms. But a lot of the people that we work with, they need to have that efficiency. And that takes into account their spend. It takes into account our fee. And so we have to really put together a plan that looks at all of this and has a real set of goals that are attainable but not too easy to hurdle over. We want to get there with our partners by having, drilled down insights into each product, setting up search query funneling, being able to control Google and actually only spend your dollars when it makes sense. That's a challenge that I think a lot of people haven't been able to hurdle over, but with Exclusive we've had unbelievable results and being able to help a lot of companies who have struggled in the past go back into this, try it again, and actually have it work for their company.
So Liam, where do you see the future of e-commerce right now, into the future? You, as a company, have a unique perspective, predating Google, and having that longevity. What do you see in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jeremy, and I think that it's interesting. Even today, we see it evolving. I mean, Google has kind of learned a little bit from Amazon and now has Google Express Live and is really trying that format. Even Google Shopping, in my mind, is almost a replication of that marketplace where you have that immediate gratification of a picture, a price point, shipping callouts. And there's other news that recently came out, so Shopify trying to think about going into the fulfillment business and starting to compete on that end. All of these innovations and ideas that have been coming up from companies, it really speaks to a certain unknown of how things could unfold. But I see, there is a lot more data today than there ever has been before. And from Facebook harvesting so much at the interest level and actually having to scale back on how much data they can use, but there's still so much available, to Google having really solid foundations of demographic information. If you can marry that on analytics to all of the psychographic on-site behaviors, I think that you're going to really start to be able to build certain customer profiles that we've never been able to build before. And just knowing that how platforms are evolving and really expanding their capabilities, and site speed times are up, and everybody is able to come to a site and be comfortable buying from places. No longer is there this really hesitation to click on ads anymore. People are more receptive to ads than they ever have been before. It's going to get a lot more competitive, so I see that happening, and I just see us being able to use a much more data-driven approach. But that data has to be, in our minds, not only run through automation, but also balanced with a true specialist and an expert there to really leverage it.
Yeah. Liam, fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
Live from RetailX.